The Lord of the Rings Online, or LOTRO, is an MMORPG released in 2007, and it remains, in my humble opinion, one of the best adaptations of Tolkien's world. In this video I will try to show you the hidden or not so hidden details that make the world of LOTRO so immersive and lively. This time we will take a look at Lothlórien, the Golden Wood, one of the last true safe places left in Middle-earth, where time seems to stand still. Last time we left the Fellowship at the doorstep of Moria, having just lost Gandalf to the Balrog. After a moment of rest and grief, the Fellowship continues their journey to the safety of the Golden Wood. After a short distance, Gimli spots a broken pillar and says he must take a quick look. Frodo and Sam go with him, and he explains to them that this pillar is called Durin's Stone, and it is where Durin the very first awakened dwarf, looked into the lake and saw the stars reflected as a crown in the water, inspiring him to found Khazad-dûm on this location. In the game, like it's described in the books, the stars are visible in the reflection of the lake, even during the day. On the pillar is an inscription in Khuzd-dûl, the language of the dwarves, which when translated reads the text that is now visible on the screen, with the name Azanulbizar being the Khuzd-dûl translation of the Dimril Dale, the small dale where the Fellowship is now finding themselves in, and Kheled-zâram being the translation of the Mirrormere, as the lake is called that they are currently peering into. After this brief detour, the Fellowship continues, but Frodo and Sam quickly start lagging behind. Aragorn had forgotten both hobbits were wounded in the fight with the goblins in the chamber of Mazarbul back in Moria, and the Fellowship halts in a small level dell next to the river running from the lake. This dell is described as being just beyond a small waterfall and rimmed with fir trees and filled with hartstone and whortleberry plants. This location is present in the game, and the plants appear to match. There are no traces of the camp of the Fellowship, as the Fellowship clears the remains of their camp and fire completely in the books before they move on. Aragorn treats the hobbit's wounds with some athalas he had left from Weathertop, and the journey continues. The Fellowship crosses the river Nimrodel next to a broken old bridge and bathe their feet in its refreshing water. To the right of them they hear a waterfall, where the elven lady Nimrodel, from whom the river gets its name, was said to once have had a house high in the trees. In the sound of the rushing water, a maiden's song is said to be heard, though no such sound is present in the game, unfortunately. There is a statue of Nimrodel present at the waterfall, however, so it's quite sure that this is the proper one. Legolas climbs a golden malorn tree in search for a place where the Fellowship can spend the night safely, but is commanded down by other elves who are hiding in the trees all along. They had noticed the Fellowship way earlier, but after seeing an elf from the north in the company, they allowed them to cross the Nimrodel. The Fellowship stays with the elves on their platforms in the trees, called flats or talons, while an orc pack passes under them in the night. The hobbits stay on a flat with Haldir, the commander of the local elves, and the others stay on a nearby talon. This area looks very much like it is described in the books, with Talon Haldir probably being the place where the hobbits rested. There are two other talons nearby, which were presumably used by the others. The companions of Haldir, Rúmil and Orofin, can be found in a nearby settlement. This next detail I'm actually really excited about, as I did not know of its existence in the game until I went location scouting for this video and I happened upon it by accident. As far as I know, it's not part of any quest line in the game either. After waking up, the Fellowship is escorted by Haldir and his companions further into the wood. At some point they have to cross the river Celebrant, but the elves no longer build bridges over it as a safety measure. Instead, they cross with two grey elven ropes, which Haldir throws to another elf across the river who attaches it to a tree. The Fellowship crosses this slender bridge, and in the books the ropes are removed by an elf on both sides of the river. In the game, however, you can find 2 ends of rope wrapped around 2 trees next to the stream, a sure sign this is the location where the Fellowship must have crossed. From here the Fellowship travels blindfolded to the hill of Cerin Amroth, where the word reaches Haldir from Galadriel that the visitors are known to them and can be released from their blindfolds. The hill gets its name from the elf Amroth, who once ruled over Lothlórien and was the lover of Nimrodel, mentioned earlier. Their tragic story is told fully in the books. Nimrodel and Amroth traveled to the sea together to set sail towards Valinor, but got separated. Amroth could not find Nimrodel and he continued towards the sea, where he waited on the last seaworthy vessel for months for the arrival of Nimrodel. After a huge storm pushed the ship far out to sea, Amroth jumped from the ship into the water in an attempt to get back to land. He drowned, and Amroth and Nimrodel both were never seen again. The hill is described as having a double crown of trees, the outer ones being bare but still possessing a beautiful slenderness. The inner ones were golden malords, with a tall one in the middle housing a large talan. The hill is filled with silver and golden flowers called Eleanor and Niprahil, and from the talan on the top of the hill, the Fellowship get their first glimpse of the elven city of Caras Galadhon, deep inside the forest. The hill in-game matches this description very closely, and here the player finds part of the Fellowship again for the first time since Rivendell. Far away sea sounds and gull sounds are said to be heard when the wind blows over the hill, but no such sounds can be heard in-game. Perhaps it is just a legend. Next, the Fellowship travels to Caras Galadhon, the main city of the Elves of Lothlórien. It is a city of flats, built high in the mightiest trees of the forest and rimmed with a tall hedge. After climbing a few stairs, the Fellowship comes to a fountain, from which a small stream runs off into the city. They climb up a ladder to a great talan like the deck of a ship and are invited into the Hall of Celebrant. It is described as an oval hall with the boles of trees running through the middle as a great pillar. The walls are silver and the roof is gold, and the seat of Celeborn and Galadriel is shrouded by the branches of the trees. After the audience, the Fellowship rests for a time in a pavilion drawn up for them, filled with soft benches to sleep on. During their stay, Sam and Frodo also have their meeting with Galadriel in her garden and peer into her mirror. All these landmarks I just mentioned are present in LOTRO's rendition of Caras Galadhon, and I hope I conveyed with the footage just how majestic the City of the Elves truly is. The Room of Celeborn is actually available much later in the game, as it is a headquarters for a certain type of missions added in the Mordor expansion. During this stay, Legolas and Gimli are described as joining the Galadhrim on hunts, often being away from the Fellowship. This is the moment where the relationship between Gimli and Legolas really starts to change, and it is referenced in a story quest inside LOTRO. Here you join them as they look for orcs to hunt in the forest, and witness their bantering as they start counting their kills and discussing the enmity between their races. A very nice addition. The Fellowship stays in Lothlórien for almost a month, and when they talk about departure, Celeborn outfits them with small slender boats to allow them to travel along the Anduin River. The Fellowship travels to a small harbour near the Anduin, where the golden flower Eleanor grows like it did on Cerin Amroth. They set out, and right before leaving the actual borders of the wood, Celeborn and Galadriel catch up to them in a boat shaped like a swan, with a golden beak and jet black eyes, and rowed with black oars. They have a feast with the Elven King and Queen, and after receiving gifts from them, the Fellowship finally departs the Golden Wood. None of them would ever come back to it again. Caras Galadhon will be abandoned completely at the end of King Aragorn's reign. The haven is quite small in LOTRO, and you can do a quest there to prepare for a feast, so it is likely the same place where the departing feast was held. The swan ship is also present, with the colors being exactly as described in the books. Thus, the Fellowship departs from the last truly safe haven on their route towards Mordor and Mount Doom. We will catch up with them in the next video, where I will cover the Great River region. This video still has more details to go to though. The player character is met with a healthy amount of distrust, just like the Fellowship was when they entered Lothlórien. When the player character reaches the area, they must have the first level of reputation with the Galadhrim when entering, otherwise they will be shot and killed immediately after crossing the Nimrodel. However, in 2011 a patch was added which granted the exact amount of reputation required when you finish the Mines of Moria story, so most players likely do not encounter this situation. You will still need to reach friend standing with the Galadhrim before you are allowed to enter Caras Galadhon though. Another interesting detail is the fact that a lot of animals inside the forest are protected by the elves, and killing them will deduct points from your reputation. Finally, some traces of trouble can be found inside the Golden Wood. While there are enemies inside the forest, most of them are animals. Near the northern outskirts of the Fanuidhol, or Cloudy Head, one of the 3 mountains of Moria, many orc camps can be found however, as they are attacking the forest. Even the Dimril stair leading to the Pass of Caladhras is currently being cleared from ice and snow by orcs. Here you can fight several small battles to help with the defense of the forest, a foreshadowing of the major attacks on the Elves of Lothlórien later during the War of the Ring. Thank you for watching this video. Lothlórien is one of the most impressive locations in Middle-earth, and the devs have really done it justice in my opinion. As a player, especially when you have been questing for God knows how long in the darkness of Moria, entering Lorien feels like an amazing reward for all the hard work. Thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.